Creative real estate agent. I'm here today with Jeremy Taylor, co-founder of River and Coast Property Group, which is a new real estate brokerage here in St. Augustine and the Northeast Florida area. Jeremy is also the owner of Tailored Training Systems, a group physical fitness center, also known as a gym, in the World Golf. That might be simple. That's probably simplifying it way too much,
Sure.
but just interpreting it for the masses. And that's in the World Golf Village area. Jeremy is definitely creative. I mean, he's helping to brand, market, and run not just one, but two businesses. And that definitely requires a ton of tenacity and creativity. So really excited to talk with Jeremy today. And here he is. Welcome to the show, Jeremy.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah, it was funny. We were actually just talking off air before we went live. He and I both had closings today that were extended closings. He said his was like 295 days.
Right, 295 days. That's what we came to.
And mine was like a year. I need to go back and count the days. It's been a very long time.
And it's not like it's new construction that we're building or something. So it was just prolonged. So it is what it is though. Happy Friday, happy closing day.
It is. Woo! Happy Friday. Yes. Happy to be here. And definitely happy to have a nice closing, and happy for the clients who finally get to enjoy their property, or at least own their property.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, Jeremy and I chatted just earlier this week, because I like to do that with my guests before they come on the show, so I can get a little more info about them when I'm coming up with what we're going to talk about and what I'm going to ask them. And we realized a funny coincidence that I'm going to bring up. Last week on my show, I mentioned I was going on a birthday trip for the weekend with my husband. I didn't say where I was going, but I went to Amelia Island with Sean, my husband. And we went and stayed at Omni Resort, which is a beautiful resort on Amelia Island with a spa and some restaurants. And it's just gorgeous. It's pools on the ocean, the best of, Florida. And, being on an island, it's that kind of pretty, that tropical pretty. And it turns out Jeremy actually worked there.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to tell everyone what you did there?
If this doesn't, so I'm definitely an extrovert in my life, but the first job was being a cabana boy at the Omni. And I mean, it wasn't technically called a cabana boy, but beach attendant is what we would call it. So basically our job was to, which at this point in my life, I was like, goodness gracious, I had to get up so early, but we just had to be at work by 6 a.m. to set up the beach. People would, and I don't know if you did this when you were there, but you would like request beach chairs and umbrellas, and the Omni actually spans well beyond like the hotel version of it. So there's condos and whatnot that are all on property as well. So people order umbrellas and chairs, and you set it all up for them, and you have tags for them, and you're basically their attendant for the day. We didn't serve any food or alcohol or anything like that, but more than anything, it was a bunch of teenagers having a good time and hanging out on the beach for 8-hour shifts, and then close down the pool deck at night. But I couldn't have asked for a better job. It was a great time.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. Oh, it's funny. No, we did walk down to the beach where they had the chairs and the specialty, I can't even think of what they're called, but they're expensive.
Like the gazebos, the cabanas. Yes. Yeah. They're so expensive. It would crack me up. No thanks. No thanks.
I think if you were maybe from up north and you weren't used to the beach, but we're like, okay, This looks like, I mean, it's beautiful, but we've seen this before.
But you wouldn't believe, I mean, the amount of celebrities that would come down, and it was cool because, I mean, obviously you're not trying to bug them, or they're on vacation. So, but it was cool to go up to them and, here's your seat, Mr. XYZ, whatever it is. But there's a bunch of people that I was so surprised to see the amount of celebrities that would come down and just to Amelia Island, which I thought was nothing because I lived there at that point. So I thought it was a nobody town, but yeah, it was cool to see. It was fun.
Oh yeah. Oh, well, we had a great time. It was between the restaurants and the spa. We spent a day at the spa, like an afternoon at the spa. Mm-hmm. It was all good until my last day there when we went to eat at the Falcon's Nest. Do you know the Falcon's Nest? And it was great. The food was delicious. But when they asked us if I wanted to sit inside or outside, I chose outside, and that was my downfall.
Right.
I don't know. I had some kind of encounter with a caterpillar. It sounds crazy, and people are like, what are you talking about? But I seriously have been in hives for like a week because of these caterpillars.
Well, I haven't heard of it happening, but hey, everyone has different reactions, right? That's
I
funny.
know. I guess I'm a little sensitive. I did not realize I haven't had an encounter with a caterpillar before. But yeah, after a week of steroids,
Right.
internally, externally, and finally I stopped taking the oral steroids because I did go to the gym in the middle of the night one night. And, it's
Oh,
like, okay,
that's different.
it is, it's probably not that smart of a decision, but I just,
At
steroids
least
make
it
me
was
a
the end
little
of the week. At
nuts.
least you got to enjoy yourself, and it was
Yes,
the roundup of the tour. So at least it was the
absolutely.
end of the
Yeah.
week.
Yeah. And then I got to be home and just kind of deal with it here
Hmm.
at home and not on vacation.
Right.
So it's all good though. We really enjoyed it. And that's neat to know that's kind of like your old stomping grounds then.
Yep. Yep. Well, for the like I guess latter half of my childhood, it was like I said, I told you earlier in the week. I
Mm-hmm.
was born in Atlanta, and we were there until I was 6 or 7, and then we moved out to Colorado, where my mom's family all still resides. But we were only out there for a few years because my dad hates the cold, and so do I. Now that I've grown and gotten accustomed to the Florida weather, but we moved down to Yulee, which was a culture shock and a half going from Colorado down to Yulee, Florida, because at that time it's grown up a little bit now, but at that time there's absolutely nothing. So being in a bigger city, we were right outside of Denver when I was in Colorado, and moving to Yulee was culture shock, but it was a good experience for me, and it got to it kind of leveled me out in life too, like realizing like not, when you grow up in the same spot, you may get to the top of the totem pole as far as like your friend group or whatever. So it kind of knocked me back down to where I had to like regroup and make new friends and like adjust and maybe adapt, I guess, as far as like my personality traits or how I treat people or whatever it may be. But definitely brought me back down to earth, put me in a new location. But I ended up loving this state. Obviously, I don't plan on leaving anytime soon. Especially St. Augustine, I've grown to fall in love with this place more and more every day. So happy we made the move, and I'm happy my dad, even though I hated it at first, I'm happy he brought us back down here.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, you make a really good point. There is definitely a resilience and an ability to adapt that you have to develop. I mean, to thrive, somewhere new, you have to learn
Sure.
to embrace new experiences and form new, just start over, rebuild. And it
Right.
seems like that's something that we'll do over and over, most of us throughout our life, for sure.
I think it also gave me. There's a lot of friends that I have, at my age, like I'm in my mid 20s. There's a lot of us that are kind of finding out our paths at this point in our life, and like I don't feel the need, and that's why I think I've grounded myself here, and I want to start businesses and grow them in this place because I don't feel the need to go like travel and move everywhere else kind of thing. Where a lot of my friends at this point in their life, they may be young and single, and they want to go travel and experience other places and live in other places. I've experienced it at this point, even though I haven't been all over the world by any means, but I've experienced, I feel like, enough that I don't feel the need or the urge to go, live somewhere else for a couple of years. So,
Yeah.
like, it's a security thing that I'm like, okay, I'm comfortable here, and I love this place, and I feel like I can grow in this place.
Yeah, it's great to have a good home base. And then, you're
Mm-hmm.
setting yourself up so that in the future you can do a lot of traveling, you can
Right.
explore,
That's the
and you can
goal.
just always come back.
That
Or,
is the goal.
as long as
Exactly.
it works for you, come back. Yeah,
Exactly. So that's the goal.
that's cool. So how did you end up in St. Augustine from Yulee originally?
So baseball brought me here originally. So that I had a list of when I was in high school, I was supposed to go to North Florida, and then that didn't work out. I went to Florida State College in Jacksonville, which is a junior college, and I spent 2 years there. And then when it came down to deciding on my next school where I was going to spend my last 2 years to play my last 2 years of baseball, Flagler ended up being the decision, which initially wasn't at the top of my list because I had these like big Division I aspirations kind of a thing. And then, but it was the best option for me scholarship wise and putting me in a good school that was a little bit more, which I was in high school. I always made good grades, but in college I like became a nerd. I for some reason decided I love school and I like to be a part of it, and I wanted to have somewhere that was smaller, that had like a closer relationship with my professors. And anyway, so Flagler was an obvious choice for that. Ended up loving it. Obviously, like I said, I became obsessed with this place, even though I had 2 years of mediocre baseball. I guess for my standards of what I wish for myself, but I couldn't have appreciated the college or the experience anymore, and that's what I mean, the friend group that I have right now, my teammates on my real estate team were my baseball teammates in college. So like we've grown a bond. Like we're brothers now at this point. So it's cool to see how we like transitioned in our life phases to, we're trying to still grow with one another. So it's a really cool experience for us all to grow together like that.
That is so neat. Yeah, I actually wanted to ask you. I hadn't written that down, but it did cross my mind. I was going to ask you how you got this particular group of guys that you're working with on your team. That's great. They're your
All ball
baseball
players.
buddies.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
build
All
it, they will
Saints.
come.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah, I like your say. I don't know. I read a blurb. I don't know. I don't want to call it a blurb, but like a description of your team on your Facebook business page for your business, and you said something about how even though you guys were something about you totally like didn't avoid the whole we're young thing, like you included that, but said but we've
Right.
got um, a lot of experience, like just our experience compared to other people that are in the business right now and the way that we do business. I don't know. You totally like flipped that potential objection and just
Sure.
made it like a
Right.
strength for you.
And it's a
I
huge
love
objection most of the time.
that.
And I'm
Okay.
sure, like if, especially when I first got into it, and I think this goes for anything, any sort of industry, and obviously knowledge is definitely power. So, like that's why we're so consistent with like us staying around each other and like having market knowledge and making sure we're reviewing neighborhoods and like educating each other on things we can do better or like role playing and stuff like that. Because if we can talk the talk and walk the walk and actually show that we know what we're talking about, even though we have, I mean, maybe half the experience, a quarter of the experience technically, maybe not volume wise, but years wise, as some real estate agents in town that have been here for 5 or 10 years, then it starts to give us a leg up, honestly, because we show a little bit more fire under our butt compared to some people that may just be tired of what they're doing at this point. Because I mean, just as well as I do, real estate is very challenging if you're doing it correctly, and if you're trying to gain business and grow business, it's exhausting. Because, and just like while we're on this podcast, we're trying to create new ways of gathering referrals and new ways of having touches with people on a consistent basis. So it's exhausting, but having that support group of one another for one, and knowing that we can set something up for ourselves that could help us 10 years down the road not have to work so darn hard to make our money. That's what drives us to do what we want to do. So it ends up giving us a leg up if we can show, hey, this is our stats. This is how we're going to go about it, and we have a scheme as to how we go about things. No, we have not sold 30,000 homes in the neighborhood, but what we do, we know works. So we just try to be confident with what we're saying and as knowledgeable as possible, because then what we say is going to be clear and consistent. So it ends up giving us a leg up, I feel like, in the end, because we're snappy, we're on things, we're answering our phones fast, kind of a deal, and we're fast to, respond to requests online and stuff of that nature.
It makes a difference. It does. And I'm older than you. I don't know if you realize this, but I saw you were born in 1995. I was born in 1984. But I've been young looking for a lot of my life. Especially like to my late teens and my 20s. Through a lot of my 20s,
Sure.
people always thought I was a lot younger than I am. And so I've dealt with that kind of my whole life in a way. And then when I started real estate, I was already in my 30s, but still, like, when my first client I had was like, how do you deal with looking so young? It seems so,
right. I mean,
like,
people automatically assume it's crazy. I mean, I totally get it, because there is such a stigma too. I mean, that's in our little bio as well. We're trying to not be the high pressure sales group that a lot of, I hate to say old school agents, but that is kind of an old school approach. But there's definitely differences, obviously, in today's real estate market compared to 20 and 30 years ago. I mean, people are a lot more knowledgeable. Like, everyone's dangerous at this point. Everyone has access to property records and Zestimates and realtor.com values and stuff like that. So everyone has a little bit more, not that that's all accurate by any means, but I'm just saying everyone's got a little bit more knowledge to be dangerous at this point. So you really got to bring your A game when you're talking to people and be prepped. So, but yeah, it's so funny. Like I understand where they're coming from when they say like, oh, well, you haven't done it, like you haven't experienced everything. But in reality, you know this just as well as I do. Every transaction is different. Like there's always something that could come up that
Some
could.
last for a year.
I'm telling you, this everything is different. You guys, I think you could do a million transactions, and there's still a possibility of something else occurring that would never occur in the other million transactions. So there always is a possibility of something else occurring. So it is
Yeah.
what it is.
It is. It is. I think that's one of the things I personally like about real estate. Is it keeps it interesting. I mean, you can have
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5 different deals going at once, and they are all completely different.
Right?
And you got to
Absolutely.
bring different things to bear on each one. So
Yeah,
it's
every day is certainly different. You're not walking into a cubicle and doing the
yeah,
same typewriting every day or whatever. So it is exciting and stressful.
yeah, yeah. So I was wondering, how do you feel about your real estate? I don't know. Do you think of other realtors as your competitors? Do you think of them as your colleagues? How do you feel about the other people, the other realtors?
I think you have to have some level of competitive aspect to it because obviously we're all trying to live and make a living and grow. Um, but I also think that one, there's plenty of fish in the pond, and I think all of us can eat, and without having to be demeaning to other agents. I think it's pretty prevalent. I mean, it's almost like a political act. You know, you try to demean other people to make yourself look better, which some agents take that approach. I hope everybody moving forward tries to take the route of like, just showing what you're capable of and let the best man win kind of a deal. But no, I don't want to. I try not to think of people as true competitors or like someone that's the enemy because you and I are going to work together again at some point. So I would like to be in a good relationship with you at all times because that's just going to make everything good. You're going to represent your client better if you and I can have a better relationship. So I try not to think about anybody as the enemy and not, this stuff does get stressful. And so um, you try not to take anything personal either, even if someone's, coming at you fast or have a little bit aggressive behind it. You shouldn't take anything in a personal manner. It's just a transaction at this point. Try to take the emotion out of it. But at the same time, you do want to have a good relationship with your other agents in town. It's only going to benefit you as you grow up. So try not to burn any bridges. That's for darn sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I always appreciate a good agent on the other side, I've
Mhm.
because I've worked with where I was a FISBO, which is for sale by owner for
Mhm.
people that don't hear real estate jargon every day. But and that was tough. I mean, it didn't even work
Yeah.
out, because it helps to have the other agent on the other side, especially if you're
Oh,
dealing
for
with a
sure.
difficult situation or a difficult, client,
Right.
and it's like, well, I'm helping my client, you're helping your client. It helps keep things kind of separated.
And we
And
both, and the thing is, and just to bring up the for sale by owner kind of a thing too, we understand what's, I guess, a normal occurrence, and not that every transaction has to be set quote unquote normal by any means, but we understand what's fair in every transaction, what the typical is. So when it
mhm.
comes to those for sale by owners, or maybe someone who's unwilling to, cooperate with one another, then it just makes everything a lot more difficult and a
Mhm.
lot harder to pass through. And that half of the I mean, I would say even more than half, 80% of the home buying process is emotional. So things cannot work out a lot of the times because someone said something too fast or reacted too fast and if you can think to yourself, nothing happens fast in real estate and sit on choices for a little bit longer, then everyone will calm down a little bit. So it definitely helps to have someone else on the other side that's willing to work and be diligent about what they're doing and be friendly throughout the process at the same time. So
Yeah, yeah. But then on the other side where, we're all working on getting clients and stuff like that. It's like there's so much like niching down you can do though,
for
that
sure.
it does make it feel like the sky's the limit, and that you
Mm-hmm.
just have to know what kind of people you're wanting to serve, what group you're
Sure.
trying to serve. But it's interesting because I know that in sports there's a lot of competitiveness, and I wonder if that kind of helps you have that edge when you're in this real estate space as well. Do you bring some of that to real estate too?
Yeah, I think so. I think more than anything, sports is the platform that built my confidence as far as like um, you're you have to perform in front of others. A lot of times you're under a lot of pressure, and being in those sort of situations has definitely prepped me for whether it's a listing presentation or a first time buyer meeting or even just cold calling people, because
Mhm.
that's especially for, I guess, someone in my position in trying to grow as rapidly as possible. Like you got to grind, and you have to be okay with being told no. And baseball for my sport is a game of failure. You fail 7 out of 10 times, you're a Hall of Famer. So I'm pretty used to failing, especially since I'm obviously not playing anymore. So I'm very used to the failure aspect of it, and just get back up and keep going. It's kind of a thing. So the sports beyond the competitive side of things, I think that has definitely helped me with just business in general. But I think it's just prepped me in being okay with failing and being more confident in myself, even when I do have failures.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah. I think similarly, my background in music and performing, being with music, because I used to play out quite a bit and sometimes for some large audiences. And I didn't really get into the competitive side that much. I just wasn't really, I guess I wasn't, that wasn't really me and what I was doing. But I could see, but again, there's this feeling of like, well, I didn't make it or something because like I'm
Sure.
not doing it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like, but all those experiences shaped me. Like that's
Right.
part of how I'm doing this right now. Like
Exactly.
I'm talking in a microphone. Like I learned to use microphone because I used to play music and sing.
Right.
Like
And a lot
sing.
of people aren't confident enough to do this and be very open like you are. So like I said, that's why I love that you're doing this. And when I saw that you were starting to do this, I think it's so cool because in our town, there's not a lot of people that, not that I know of at least, that do this sort of a thing. I know there's a few agents in town that do have YouTube channels that are fairly consistent with it, but not a lot of people do this. So this is cool to see, and it should get you to share your knowledge too, and get to show people what sort of skill set you bring to the table, and you speak fluently, so it's easy to have confidence in someone like you. So it's definitely shaped you being able to do this and make it a high quality thing.
Well, thank you. I'm improving every time. My goal today was to say less.
I have that problem too. So it is what it is.
Oh, so I'm curious how the transition has been for you because I remember seeing you, like posts about you when you were with DJ and Lindsay. You know, you were part of a high powered, large
Right.
group with two very strong real estate leaders that, from what I know, they give you a lot of guidance and a lot of structure and a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're like in your own brokerage, with your
Mm-hmm.
smaller group. So how's that change been? What's that been like?
It's I anticipated it to be a little bit more challenging, I guess. I think I was just more stressed because the fear of the unknown kind of a thing. But that being said, which I owe a lot to DJ and Lindsay for shaping me and giving me the guidance. And to any brand new agent, it is an awesome option to get under the wings of someone who's done it before and work to learn instead of earn initially. Even it could be a good thing that you can put into your head, because I don't think there's anything that can replace you being in the fire. You can study as much real estate verbiage and contract law as you want, or study the market as much as you want, but not actually being in the fire and seeing the situations that happen. It's going to set you back compared to other agents. So there's a lot that I owe to them that allowed me to realize what I'm capable of doing, even. So, and that's what really prompted this facility to open with the gym, is that, I ended up getting, and I still do get, a lot of referral business off of this facility. And so I get to basically like have my cake and eat it too. I have my hobby that I truly enjoy, and I get to, talk to people and help them with their health. And we call it homes and health all the time, but I also get to, there's a lot of downtime when it comes to personal training, or even in group class settings, because I require rest periods of some sort of programming that we do. So there's a lot of time for us to get to know each other, and they get to see that I have multiple passions, and I'm not going to hopefully good at both of them. And so it's a great thing for me, and it's been a fairly easy transition. And more than, I think the hardest part for me has been learning how to balance both of them, because they
Mhm.
do require a lot of time, both of them do. So that's been a bit of a challenge, but I also have a team at the gym that has been incredible, and they take a lot of the load off my plate as far as like client retention and making sure that classes are running smoothly, and taking a lot of the personal training clients. So that's been awesome for me. So I don't think I could have asked for a better transition into it, and I've done well thus far, and I haven't lost income or anything of that nature, and I feel like I've been able to actually handle my customers better because I'm doing things, I guess, the way I want to now, and I have a lot closer relationships with my customers at this point. So that's been fun. It's been fun to really this is my brand at this point. This is our brand at this point, and they get to see what we're doing and what we're capable of, or how we do it. Which we took, obviously we were formed by something, but putting our own spin on it and making that out the way River and Coast Property Group does things has been fun to create. So, and it's going to be a learning experience as we get older.
When did you open the gym?
January 4th of this year.
Wow.
So
Okay. Brand
we're
new.
fresh.
Yeah. So are your real estate teammates part of your gym as well?
No, well, they'll come in and work out from time to time, but they're not in as much. But so I have a separate. We're a very small group with the gym as well. Pretty picky about who we bring on because it is it's very intimate, right? Because you're with these people every day, and most of the time you're just as much of a therapist to them as you are a trainer, and so I try to keep the amount of coaches that we have in here down substantially, and I'd rather pay that one coach heavily and make them have a career here instead of having constant turnover. Obviously, that's kind of everyone's whole goal, but even for myself, I would rather spend more hours in this place and take on more of the class hours if I have to, or take on more of the personal trainings if I have to, because that's what ultimately gives them the best experience. And I think it will continue to grow my other business with the real estate as well. So as long as I have more touches with people.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure that both are gonna exponentially feed off of each other.
Right.
Are you like, what kind of people do you train? Do you train like just like serious athletes specifically, or just
No.
everyday people?
Um, I guess we refer to our typical, like, our classes as Gen Pop, general population,
Mhm.
and our typical client is somewhere between the ages of 30 and 50. We are a higher ticket gym compared to somewhere like a Planet Fitness or a Bailey's, but I think the value of something like us is substantially higher. Obviously, there's people don't pay for time, they pay for value, and what we bring to the table as far as knowledge base and attention to detail is obviously substantially higher than somewhere you're going to get from like a Planet Fitness or a Bailey's. And if you can pay for personal training at Bailey's as well, and you can get some pretty high level detail and attention to detail from there. But we're so picky with who we bring on and how we do things and movement pattern efficiency and stuff like that. And we always try to provide other additional free value. For example, like tomorrow we have our physical therapist coming in and doing a whole session on lower back pain for free for people, which a ton of people struggle with lower back pain. So we just try to,
Who
provide that
doesn't?
kind of stuff for folks. Right. So that's the thing too. There's so much opportunity in this space. And I truly believe the fitness world is going to continue to exponentially blow up because we have so many health issues in our society. So I think it's a great opportunity, even at this point where it seems like the fitness space may be saturated with different ideas and different people. If we can stick to our values and provide a good product, I think we'll continue to grow and continue to grow. And quite frankly, I don't spend a lot of dollars on marketing. It's all word of mouth that we've been doing. So it's been really cool to see that people enjoy our product so much. We've been getting more and more referrals off of that and bringing them into our facility as well. So it's fun. It's definitely fun.
That's awesome. I think it's really impressive. I mean, you are really young. I mean, relatively speaking, to be in your mid 20s and like own a gym and have your real estate business growing as well. I
Right.
think it's amazing. So good for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Did you buy? I'm curious if you, was this a real estate project too? Like, did you purchase the building or, just.
No, I would like to at
Mhm.
some point. So basically my goal out of this is I don't want to pay myself from the gym really at all. I would like to just pay my coach as well and put whatever additional money away because I would like to at some point just utilize that as maybe my down payment for a larger facility at some point. So I would love to own the land as well. I'd love to own everything about it. So yes, at some point it will be a real estate project as well, but not quite yet.
Nice, 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 nice. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about what you did with 22 Madeira, because so that's for those of you listening. Jeremy and I have been on opposite ends of a deal before, and it was when actually back at the end of 2020, I was representing, along with my husband, our his dad, so my father-in-law, and it was a property on Anastasia Island, nice single family home that they'd owned for a long time. And, they'd done, it had some updates, but the updates that it had were back like 20 years ago. It had been a while, and for the most part, we did some things before putting it on the market, but, it was a great, it's a great house. And I think Jeremy saw it, and we actually went under contract with Jeremy. So, and that was his own, to purchase for himself. And I love what you did with the place. I think the changes that you made and the updates that you made were awesome.
Thank you.
And it
Thank you.
turned out really nice.
It
And
was
yeah.
unplanned to resettle,
Really.
but it was completely not planned. But with where we're at, I guess with the market is just
Yeah.
what prompted the idea to do so.
Yeah.
Because at that point there was nothing under 250 a square on the island, 3 bed, 2 bath plus. So, and I mean, we're still there, and you can't find a single thing at this
Mm-hmm.
point, and I don't foresee us that changing anytime soon either, which is a bit of a challenge for, obviously, if I'm moving forward and trying to find something else. But I also, when I got to thinking about it, thought of it as, again, I'm young. I should probably have as much, like, this could be a good learning experience for me that I can pass on to future customers. So I've been there, done that. So if I do have some sort of investor coming in to say, like, hey, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to get from it. Say, okay, here's what I did when I did
Yeah.
mine. So I think it's a great learning experience for me. So that was kind of the driving mechanism behind that.
Your time, I mean, the timing was amazing, because I mean, the market went nuts from the
Who
time.
would
I
have
think we went
thought?
under contract at November, like November
Right.
2020. And by the time we're like, a couple months into 2021, it's just like,
Yeah, who
yeah,
would have thought that?
crazy.
It's insanity. So, which, I mean, I guess I'm lucky, but again, if we're under contract at this point, but if it didn't sell, or if it doesn't sell for some reason, it falls through, or I'm not upset about it by any means. I think it's a great piece of property to own,
Yeah.
especially, in that zip code at that price point where I got it. So I'm not upset either way. I just was like, hey,
Yeah.
cool, I can try to go ahead and flip it. So we'll see. It could be a good learning experience for me.
That's a good position to be in, where you're not
Sure.
attached to the outcome,
Right.
but
Exactly.
you took a risk. I mean, buying a piece of property and putting work into it is always, you're always taking a little bit of a risk. You never know what's
Sure.
going to happen.
Right.
So I'm happy for you. I know it's going to
Thanks.
work out just great.
Well, I
Um,
appreciate it. Knocking on wood over here.
oh man. So want to hear I want to talk a little bit about well, before we get there, I want to talk about the guitar, but I wanted to ask you about, and we've already kind of touched on this a bit, but God, I mean, the gym, the real estate, investments, doing an investment on
Mhm.
the side, different things like that. Like, that's a lot of different things. And it looks like you're in a serious relationship too. I mean, you and
Mhm.
I don't know you very well, but I've had to like research you a little bit to do the show. So it looks
Sure.
like you've got that going on as well, which
Right.
I know relationship takes a huge, that's a huge commitment too.
Right.
So you've got a lot of different hats that you wear. How does it feel? Do you ever feel like you're getting whiplash from going one to the other, or how is that?
Sometimes but I also, I think my dad definitely, like, if you're looking at my father on paper, I guess, as far as what his primary source of income was, it would look like he's never made a dime in his life, basically. But he always had so much going on, and maybe stuff behind the scenes that he was trying to work on, that I think I was just like born and bred to do stuff like this, or my head is constantly spinning about what I could be doing next. And like I talked to you about, sometimes it can be stressful, and maybe I do try to do a little bit too much at one time. But um, no, it's as long as you time block. I definitely found that if you're consistent with your time blocking, and this is my time for the gym, this is my time for real estate, if I have anything else going on, I have some guys that I just started working with on some mobile home park stuff that seems super interesting, and like investment stuff with that. So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm consistent with my time blocking, because then I when I'm good at that for the day, I don't feel overwhelmed. It's when maybe I get a little scatterbrained or I let those time blocks lapse over one another, that I start to feel overwhelmed because I lose track of what I'm doing. So as long as my time blocks are set, then I feel very good at the end of the day. Like I accomplished what I needed to accomplish, and I didn't feel overwhelmed. I can sleep well at night.
Oh, good. So you have to have strong organizational skills.
Yes,
I
which
feel
I'm
like
still working on. But I got the time blocking part down. But the time blocking part is down. The rest of it we're working on.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think I kind of think of having multiple projects like that kind of as a symptom of being a creative person
sure.
in a way. Because I mean, I definitely have that like on maybe a smaller scale, like because it's not like I own a gym or something. Like I think that's
You have kids
really
though.
really
Let's put
big.
that into the mix.
I do. That's true.
Right. So
I
I
guess
think you have a
yeah.
lot more on your plate than I do.
I guess kids are kind of a big commitment now that I think
Yeah.
about it. Hmm.
Right. So that's what everyone
Yeah.
it cracks me because people will say like, why do you, like how do you stay like up to, I don't know, or keep your energy levels
Mm-hmm.
high? But I don't have kids. I have dogs. I do have a relationship, but we see each other every night, and we're consistent about doing things together too.
Mm-hmm.
Again, trying to set aside time blocking, but that's something I could definitely work on for probably trying to create more time for that. But
Yeah.
still, the not having kids, which anyone that does have kids, it's amazing to me. I swear some of the members at my facility are like their birth control for me because I'm like, wow, that looks stressful. It looks so stressful.
Oh, that's funny. Well, it would be, I do see moms like stay at like not stay at yeah, I guess you call it a stay at home mom, right? Where maybe they're working from home, but they have kids
Mhm.
at home too. And
I can't
I
imagine.
don't think that I don't think I could do that, very
Do
well
you work? Do you
if
work
that
at
was
home
required.
most of the time, or do you go to an office environment?
I work at home, but my daughter, I mean, I have two daughters, but one's in
Mhm.
school and one's in daycare. So
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah,
good. I
yeah,
was gonna say I don't know if I
that
can
makes it
privatized that.
manageable. Yeah, I mean, so yeah.
That's
Plus, and
tough.
we have yeah, and I delegate as much as I can. I mean, we have a housekeeper. I don't
Hmm.
really do laundry if I can help it. I have
That's a wonderful thing.
yeah, I mean, it's worth it once you start doing enough business and stuff like that where
Sure.
you got to manage your time and it's just like
It's
whatever I can
opportunity cost for
delegate.
sure.
Yeah. I had to learn that and I'm still learning about delegating as well because not just with like housework and stuff like that, but also real estate because I'm just starting to build my team
Sure. Do you
and
have an assistant? Yeah, I know you posted about that a couple months ago about asking or trying to get an assistant. Do you have one at this point?
yeah, I'm using somebody in actually, yeah, I'm using somebody, a VA, a virtual assistant.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's helpful for sure. Yeah.
Cool. Very cool.
Do you guys do back to how you kind of run your real estate business? Do you have a transaction coordinator on your team, or do you guys handle your own transactions, or how do you work that out?
So we do have a transaction coordinator that we utilize from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
We all agree that it's imperative that we do as much within the transaction as humanly possible at this point in our career.
Yeah.
So even like my Q1 of this year was the best year I've ever had, but and it was slightly overwhelming.
Awesome. Good for you.
Or get best quarter, I guess, because I've only been in it a couple of years, but best quarter I've had. But it was slightly overwhelming. But if I would have had a TC, then I feel like I wouldn't have learned the things that I learned from being in the fire. So all of us agree that even though it's a minor expense, and that's not the reason why we're not utilizing them as much, it's simply because like we need to do it over and over again. Like every transaction is practice, 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 practice,
Yeah.
practice. So at this point, I mean, if we do that for 5 years or even 2 years more, um, then at that point, hopefully we have plenty of transactions under our belt that we can say, okay, let's delegate this off.
Yeah.
No, we don't have to worry about that point.
It's hard to relinquish some of that control too when you're
Mhm.
used to making sure that everything's done the way that you would do it, and then to train somebody, and show them what to do, but then kind of it's a little bit nerve wracking because
Right.
yeah, I'm just so want to like get in there and just oversee it or
So what does your hiring process for that look like?
so actually, so my VA actually just does calls for me. She just prospects for me.
Wonderful.
So yeah, so she does that. But then somebody that just joined my team, Jerry Sanchez, who's
Mhm.
just gotten his license actually, and we're working on getting him going with his business. But he's also I'm really training him on the transaction coordination side as well
Sure.
because that's something he was interested in doing. So I'm working with him on that.
Cool. And he'll
Yeah,
learn the
he'll
process
yeah.
then. which
He
is a
will.
huge part.
Yeah. And for now, we'll just do everything together. I'll just make sure I am with it every step of the way. But
Sure,
he's very, he's been in many businesses over his lifetime and very capable. So I know he'll do great.
sure. That's cool. That's a good idea to put someone in
Yeah.
the TC role. I mean, because that's the hard part, right? Is getting them in the
Yeah.
actual transaction beyond the showings.
Right. And there, he was interested in it. So why not? Yeah. Why
Cool.
not?
Very good
Yeah.
idea.
Um, so what's going on with the guitar? I saw the guitar in your listing photos for 22 Madeira. It caught my
Uh,
eye.
attempting to be musically inclined is what's going on. So I was that kid. I don't know if like when I was in elementary school, we got to play the recorder for 1 year, and you got like almost like belts strings around your recorder for how many songs you learn. And I only had one
Mhm.
string on there. Like I'm that bad musically
Oh
inclined
no.
wise. So, but like I was telling you, whenever COVID initially started, I thought I was gonna have a ton of time on my hands, and I was like, well, I might as well pick something up. And I was telling you this too. I try to do things pretty consistently that are different. So if you can find something that you're really terrible at and get good at it, it will definitely build your confidence and show you what you're capable of. So that was one of those things, and it's been fun. I mean, I'm not great at it by any means, but it is fun to be able to, if you have friends over or whatever it may be, you can pick up a guitar and play a few tunes, and it's exciting to like express that and put my phone down for one, because that's another thing with, especially with having two businesses, my phone's always going off. So like setting aside like a workout time, and then if I need an additional 10 or 15 minutes like to put my phone away and go practice, and my mind goes directly to that because I'm so bad at it. So I have to focus super hard. So that's why I don't put my phone away. I don't pay attention to it because my mind is so focused on these four fingers that don't know what they're doing.
Oh
So,
man.
but it's super fun.
I love it. Are you using YouTube videos or how are you teaching yourself?
So when COVID hit, Fender Play had a special that they were running that you had a free 3 months, I think it was, or free month of music lessons through them, and it was awesome. It was super easy to pick up. I mean, they had just like basically a 30-day plan, or I can't remember off the top of my head exactly what it was, but how to pick things up and learning tunes and strumming patterns and stuff like that. So that was what I followed. And then at my old house, the first house that I owned in Ashby Landing was my roommate at the time. He played guitar, so I had Fender Play, and then I had him. So we would sit there and play all night, especially in that first month after COVID hit, because things did slow down for a while. So I was like, well, I have a ton of time. So that's what I went to. But so I picked it up rather quickly, I guess, but I'm still working on it. I know a few tunes, but that's about it.
What kind of stuff do you like to play?
I like all music. I probably lean towards country and rock a little bit more. So I definitely have a few artists that I lean to, especially some artists have the same like chord progressions for, I swear, every song. Like Luke Combs is one of those ones that I feel like I can play every one of his songs because they all have similar chord progressions. But so I think I lean more towards country, not as much rock. But I finally discovered playing with an amp too, which is super fun, and like playing an electric. So that was cool. So I'd like to start doing that a little bit more. But I need to, I guess, focus more on like picking, and I'm not awesome at this point. So that's, I guess, what I'm moving on to now, trying to learn how to get better at that. So
Like finger picking or with the pick
finger picking.
finger picking? Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, there's so many resources now on online. It's crazy how much
Right.
you can learn. When I
For
was
sure.
learning, I picked up a guitar for the first time when I was 11 or 12, and we didn't it wasn't like that where you could just go online and download.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, I learned how to string my guitar because I rented a VHS like video. I put on pause, watch a little bit, put on pause.
Right. Well, you can fix anything. You can learn anything via YouTube. Now I can fix my truck via YouTube.
Oh
I don't know
yeah,
anything about motors, right? So
right.
it's crazy the stuff you can find.
Yeah,
There's people that build houses on YouTube, but whatever.
right.
So
Well, good for you
that's my
for
main source.
yeah, that's great. Doing something that's challenging for you is definitely a good way to get your attention soaked into something to
Right.
take a little break from everything else.
Mm-hmm. Which
Yeah,
is definitely a necessity, as I come to realize.
yeah. So in general, though, actually kind of tying into that, you mentioned when we talked that you've had some setbacks, things that people would maybe most people would think of setbacks, like a serious accident, with a drunk driver, some big injuries that affected your baseball career, and things like that. So do you feel like your ability to kind of bounce back from setbacks and even like pivot is tied into your, I don't know, your ability to like pick up a guitar and learn something
Sure.
that's hard for you?
For sure. Definitely. I think everything correlates itself. I think everything actually really, I stem so much of my beliefs off of like what happens in like the fitness facility. So obviously, if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you sort of aspect, you're going to fail in here kind of thing. You're going to have speed bumps where you're not able to lift or whatever it may be. Like we were talking about with baseball, I had the back surgery. And then even a couple of years ago, I had got a hernia in here working out. And so I had surgery for that. But that everything is, if you start to fail, if you fail so much and you realize that you can keep coming back, there's really, you realize that there's no point never quitting really, because you can just continue to come back. Like you'll build a different, even if it's a different route that you have to take to get to the final end goal, you'll get to that point as long as you put your head down and stick to it. So I think that's all, like you just said, it all relates back to that. So it gives me the confidence that if I do fall down, I'm going to get back up and be just fine. Or if I'm having a tough month where I'm not putting a lot of stuff under contract, you got to just keep swimming. Got to just keep swimming. Got to, especially right now with our current market, you're probably, for some potential customers, you're putting in 8 to 10 contracts for people. VA buyers are getting crushed right now. So putting in a lot of effort for sometimes no result for some folks. So it's challenging, but you got to stick with it. You have to keep performing well for people, because again, ultimately that could lead to 2 or 3 more clients down the road. So just got to keep swimming through everything, and building that resiliency has definitely been stemmed from previous acts in my life, or like you said, the drunk driver incident, or my hernia, or my hand surgery in my senior year of college. So it's definitely all building blocks to what it all amounts to in the end.
There's no crying in baseball.
That's right. Unless your season ends and you're a senior, yeah, then you cry a little bit. But
Oh,
that was the only time.
yeah. I bet. But then you guys, form a real estate group and stay friends
Oh
and
goodness, I know we're a mess, is what we are. But we have so much fun. It really is the coolest thing, and I think college athletics was definitely what has shaped me, because I have a brother that's 15 months apart from me, and not that he's we were two peas in a pot, like the same person growing up. And it's funny to see how like our time in college shaped us. He's a pilot, and not that that makes you introverted by any means, but he's definitely more the introvert type. And after myself going through college and being on a team and being around a ton of people all the time, and like making them essentially my family, it's just so funny how like sprouted into this extroverted human that I would never was when I was a kid. And it shaped me and allowed me, and it's definitely, this just as well as I do, it definitely allows you more abilities in our field in sales. So being a part of something like that definitely gave me the confidence once again to talk fluently with people and have confidence into going into situations where maybe I'm not the best, or maybe I'm not as well versed as others, kind of thing, or giving me the confidence to educate myself ahead of time and know that what I'm doing is to the best of my abilities, and will get the job done.
yes, yeah, 100%. Well, I think you're doing amazing and you're going to continue to grow and just dominate. So good for you.
Try to.
Let everybody know where they can get a hold of you, whether for training or real estate or whatever. Just let them know how they can find you.
The main form, I feel like I get more direct messages. Lift and List 95. That's Lift and List 95, because that's how I make my living, lifting and listing. So that's why we have those two. But that's how people typically get a hold of me, is either through Instagram, Facebook. Taylor Training Systems LLC is our page. River and Coast Property Group, we're pretty available on all social media platforms as well. But I'm basically everywhere. So if you can't find me, I'm probably dead at that point. I'm always on the social media stuff. So if you can't find me or how to get a hold of me, then I'm probably not working anymore. So
Lift and lift, like with an N in the middle. Lift
Lift and List.
and
Yep,
list. That's
Lift
it.
and List. Yep,
Lift and
exactly,
list. Got it.
exactly. Yeah.
Great.
So
All
that's
right.
how you can find me.
Wonderful. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so
Yeah.
much,
Thank you for
Jeremy, for
having me. I
being on the
appreciate
show.
it. You're doing
Yeah.
awesome. Keep it up. Keep producing content. I think it's fun.